When my feet grow heavy and my eyes go dim, my hearing fades to whispers. I know your love can heal all my sin. I thank you that you're with me. Beautiful words I hear within. I know you will restore all things. Yahweh, you are my King. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. We bless your name and we welcome you to join us here. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. May our words be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our Elohim. Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And the second one is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, almost beloved of Yahuwah. Glad to see y'all here. So, interesting week for me. Been very, very busy. And I've been able to do some testimony and witnessing and busy on the ranch and just Yahuwah blessings upon blessings pouring down on us, the Nazarene, his chosen people. And soon we'll be able to delight in his rest, Yom Shabbat, and be in obedience to him in return for his favor and compassion on us. From the foundations of the world, we were chosen. So, we've got a really good study this evening. We're going to be talking about the 7 assemblies in Revelations chapter 2 and 3. And we're going to extend off of that and expand off of it in a large radius, just say. So let me just say hi to a few people here, and we'll get started. It's just going to be an extremely deep spiritual study this evening for us all. Hi, Dave. Glad you're here. Yami Rule, glad you're here. Diane, glad you're here. Colin, glad you're here. Peggy Russell, glad you're here. Jules Ann, glad you're here. Ladder Rain, glad you're here. Yahusha Leaf Todd, glad you're here. Phyllis and Lou, glad you're here. All right. And I'll just put out my greeting there. Is everybody hearing me okay? Is everybody hearing me okay? I hope you are. I did some tweaking on this mic system here, and the first time I've used it, so I'm just assuming you all are hearing me. Okay, thank you, Yami. Okay, thank you, Cullen. All right, great. So let's go ahead and get started then this evening. Thank you, Diane. And very important study here. Now, we're not used to this deep of spiritual insight that we're going to get from the Ruach this evening. A lot of people, I'd say the vast majority, stay at a literal level of understanding the scriptures. And then we have some that are actually have been called into a more of a spiritual understanding and more of a mature walk with Yahuwah. And we're able to understand spiritual matters because he's awakened us up to understand them. Nothing we've done on our own for sure, but given spiritual insight by Yahuwah. In scripture is Ruach-like. You know, the Torah is a Ruach-like. Scripture tells us that. And so that's evidence that there's more to scripture of truth than meets the eye. There's something else that we can't receive unless it's given to us by the Ruach HaKodesh dwelling in us. He's the one that teaches us, and he reminds us of all that he has taught us, and then he takes us into a deeper levels of understanding and discernment as we seek him out more and more and more. This lesson here is going to go deeper than most of us have probably ever journeyed. It's on the deepest level, spiritual level, that we can probably understand with our cardinal minds. But nevertheless, Baruch's going to take us there. So everybody want to be listening up here on this one. If not, you'll miss a lot of what's being said and you won't understand at the end. And it's very important that we do understand this insight we're going to be given this evening. Okay, and the end result is actually quite simple. It really is. A child could understand it. But to get there is the travel. That's the hard part, because we get in our own way, and we also get in Yahusha's way a lot of times too, and we cause stumbling. A lot of times the stumbling is us doing it to ourselves because we don't approach the word with the exegesis type studying type format. We go in there with thinking we know what's happening, so we go in there looking for proof that can establish our own understanding, and that's not the way to do it. So we get in our own way sometimes. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to, most of the meat and potatoes of this study is going to be in Revelations chapter 2 and 3, of course, but we have a big giant radius and list of things that goes along with that to help us understand what Revelations 2 and 3 is really all about, because it's been spun and twisted by Christianity to the point where most people just go along with what Christianity teaches, what chapters 2 and 3 are. And unfortunately, it's a big stumbling block. And that's why most people, the vast majority of folks, including some of the Nazarene, stumble in Revelations because the biggest stumbling block in Revelations is chapter 4. Okay, so chapter 4 begins the prophecies. Chapter 1 is the past. Chapter 2 and 3 is the present, in Yahukhanan's time when he was visited on the island of Patmos from Yahusha. And Yahusha is the one who told him what to write and what he sees and what he saw in the future. And so it's really written by Yahusha, dictated by Yahukhanan, really. Okay, so there's the stumbling block. It begins in chapter 4. So we're going to go to 2 and 3 before we get to the prophetic. And you'll see why Yahusha chose to do that as we get deeper and deeper into this spiritual insight this evening. Okay, so Paul, Sheol of Tarsus, or Paul, everybody knows who that is. He wrote letters around to people that he met throughout his travels through Israel up into Asia Minor and even over into Southeast Europe, and then over even into Rome, along the Mediterranean seaboard there, and so forth and so on. And so as he traveled, stayed with people, spread the Besorah of Yahusha to the Yehudim first, and then to the Greeks or the Gentiles. He was seeking out the Yehudim synagogues or congregations, if you will, and went in and was teaching them the Besorah of Yahusha with the Torah, prophets, and writings, the Tanakh. So, and he wrote the letters to the epistles, if you will, to the Romans, the Galatians, the Thessalonians, the Ephesians, the Corinthians, and some even say Hebrews and Dispersa. Some say that they don't give Paul the credit for writing Hebrews, and some do. But anyway, so Paul, over his travels, traveled approximately 10,000 miles, we'll just say. Okay. So we'll just say Paul traveled over or approximately 10,000 miles on his quests. He when he left, I believe Antioch is where he left from there. Went out into the desert. Nobody knows what happened to Paul when he did that, and that was approximately 14 years. Most people think. So anyway, that's really not relevant anyway, but he did disappear and study, and it was given insight to the Ruach and studied through the Ruach before he even started on these journeys or these quests. Okay, and then so to spread the Basora. So it didn't just come on him immediately. When he got his eyesight back, he went off into the desert and hid out for quite a while and studied through the Ruach, the Basora of Yahusha. He already knew the Tanakh fairly well because he was the Pharisee of Pharisees, but he had to understand the Basora of Yahusha, and he was taught by the Ruach HaKodesh out in the desert somewhere. Nobody really knows where or how long. Doesn't say. Okay, so Paul, through these 10,000 miles or so of traveling and spreading the Basora of Yahusha, established assemblies, if you will, in different areas throughout his travels, and he usually left somebody in charge to continue to study the Tanakh and show people the Basora of Yahusha, teach them the Basora of Yahusha, and as he went off to somewhere else. But then he would write, if they would write him a letter, he would answer their letter and return it, and so forth and so on. Okay, so it's estimated that Paul established at least 14 home bases, if you will, or assemblies, whatever you want to call them. And these assemblies were, some say up to 24, but there's really no evidence scripturally of that. But most of these assemblies were Yehudim, mostly converted people from Judaism or Orthodox Yehudism or whatever it was back then, over into the way. So they converted from Orthodox Judaism, we'll just say, over into the way, following Yahusha. And then some converts, pagan converts, joined them as well. They left paganism and mythology and such, and came into the light and started following the way along with the Yehudim that was dispersed out among in Asia and Europe. And this was made up those assemblies. Well, some of them we know, like I said, the Galatians, the Thessalonians, the Corinthians, the Ephesians, the Romans, the group that was in Rome were mostly made up of Yehudi. And so these, and then of course there's the 7 assemblies in Asia Minor that we all know of, in Revelations 2 and 3. Okay, so the 7 assemblies in the Asia Minor that is written to in Revelations 2 and 3 there was within approximately 50-mile radius of each other. So the farthest apart any of them were 50 miles. And they were fairly all close. They were so close, most of them, that they could actually go to each other's assemblies if they wanted to, right? It wasn't that far away. So here we have those 7, but yet we have these other 7, if you will. Some say more, spread out around Europe, other parts of Asia, right? Antioch. There's 2 Antiochs, by the way. And then so after Paul did all this, we know that he went on to Rome, and then some say he went on to Spain and England, and then came back through Greece on his travels and whatnot. But after Paul died, after Paul passed away, these assemblies divided sharply. They had a sharp divide. And so they were no longer one body of believers following the way. All right. There was a group following the way, and they were in Jerusalem. Right. So we all know that. That's, Yahuwah, the Peter and all the Talmudim there, and his half brothers, James and Jude, if you will. They had that the way. Okay, these weren't individual circuses, or they were individual assemblies, because they were in different locations, but they were all under the way, the Basura of Yahusha. They were not divided. Paul was in anguish, and he even cried every night as the Ruach showed him what was going to happen after his death. He showed him that there would be sharp division among the way. And these people would be taking over, even by some of their own members, for personal gain. And they would ravish the flock. Okay. And so they would quit teaching so much about everything that everybody else was teaching. They would go their own way. They would divide. They would create a denomination, and they would take in tithes, and they would fleece the flock, if you will. Okay. For their own personal gain. And then they even began to esteem themselves as the leaders, the Nicolaitans, and everything else, and just totally interrupted the true pattern of Yahusha. And the way was pitched and brought in different names as circuses, denominations, religions started taking over. Paganism, the people that were the converts from the paganism that were in these assemblies began to bring in their old practices and really started disrupting things. And so basically when Paul died, it fell apart. Okay. Not all. There were some good people in each assembly, as we'll find out, but there were also the ones that caused divisions in those assemblies and led everybody astray, most everybody astray. So the assemblies began to divide, and they were ravished, if you will, or fleeced by false teachers, self-seeking, ambitious, overzealous, if you will, leaders in those assemblies of those areas of the body. And the message here that we're going to find out in Revelations 2 and 3 is that out of these, we'll just say 14 assemblies that Paul started, say, these 7 that were within a small radius of each other was doing their own thing, even though they were that close. So they were supposed to be one body with one head, with one Torah, with one Ruach, with one deliverer, so forth and so on, right? But they divided. And so instead of following the way or the teachings of Yahusha, they went on their own accord, went out to their own devices, their own understandings, their own teachings, and did what they wanted to do. Some remained in there, were following after those leaders, but they were still doing some good things. Okay. And so that's kind of like bringing us up to speed here of what's going on. So spiritually, then, have you ever wondered why is it he's just naming the 7 assemblies when there were obviously much more? Okay, because they were the example, not to divide. They were dividing, and what Yahushua was trying to say here was stick together. There's only one body. Unity, unity, unity. Unity brings pleasantness. Okay, but they weren't. There was division among them. And it got worse and worse and worse until you see the mess we're in today. So now today, this is all turned into what? Well, thousands of assemblies, if you will. Not just 7, but thousands around the world. Different religions, different denominations, which are divisions, all around the world. Almost to the point where the way was abolished. Nobody even knew what it was anymore. Everybody had lost their way to Yahushua and Yahuwah, really. Right? Through all the divisions, all the religions. Okay, so if you think about that, Christianity teaches us that the 7 assemblies are representation of the progressiveness of the church over the next 2,000 years, or a little less after the death of Paul. Okay, which cannot be. And then some say, well, it's just a representation of all the churches. Well, this cannot be, because all the churches are different. They all think they're the Church of Philadelphia, and all the other churches are going to go to hell. That's what they preach, or teach, if you will. So you can see the conflict, and you can see there's something wrong. So do we follow them with their understandings, or should we rely on the Ruach HaKodesh to teach us the truth, what this all really means? Well, I would say the latter. So it's obvious to see something's wrong in that philosophy or that theology. All we have to do is admit it and to say, okay, Yahuwah, open our minds to understand the scriptures. Give me edification of your word. Help me, Father, to understand. I can see there's something is wrong. What is it? Okay, so these assemblies that divided, and they started doing their own thing and fleecing their members and all this, it just grew and grew and grew into the monster we have today. It has nothing to do with any type of a prophecy there. He was reprimanding them, and what he was basically saying to these 7 assemblies, okay, keep in mind, it wasn't the 14 or more. It was just a small group within Asia Minor. What he was basically saying to them was, division's illegal. Stay in the way. Stay with your first love. Stay in the truth. Stay united. Stay united. Don't we have that problem today? We absolutely do. We even have that problem within the Nazarene community. We have divisions. We have the flat earthers. We have the serpent seed group. We have the Enoch people. We have the different calendars. We have all kinds of division just within the Nazarene. Look at everything else. It's a mess. We can't even recognize the rest of them. They're so far out there in pagan land, in division land, right? And so what Yahusha was doing here, he was reprimanding them, saying, do not divide yourself. Stay united as one body under one Ruach. I'm the head, you're the body. There's only one of us. There's not 7 of us. There's not 70 of us. There's not 7,000 of us. There's one of us. I'm the head, you're the body. Stay united. And so what he was saying to these 7 assemblies was, he was speaking to his body, his one body, and he was saying, too much division. You're doing all this weird stuff. You're doing all this weird stuff. You're doing all this weird stuff. A few people here is doing what they're supposed to do. If you stay in the body, stay in the way, stay in me and me in you, I'll deliver you at the end. And he even offered rewards for their loyalty and their obedience. And so what this is talking a little bit about here is engrafting. So the ones that were doing what they were supposed to do, even though they were in these divisions, these illegal divisions, remained grafted into the olive tree. The other ones did not. And he said, okay, since you're doing all that, if you're not going to do what I said, I'm going to snap you off and I'm going to put somebody else in your place. But there's still going to be only one body. You can divide all you want, but there's only one body. And if you divide away from this one body, I'm going to prune you off and I'm going to put somebody in your place. The ones that remain in me and me in them, you will remain in the olive tree, in the one body, in Mashiach. And so what these 7 assemblies really are is the body of Yahusha, the one body of Yahusha. And he's pruning it. Yahuwah is able to do that. Read Romans 11. Okay. So I know that's a lot to throw at you at one time. So now we're going to have to back away, and we're going to have to do a little bit of scriptural study here. So let's go to the source of power, the scriptures of truth, and let's read some pure truth and see if it resonates with what we've just been told by the Ruach. First thing we have to do is trash everything we've been taught and let the Ruach teach us the truth. Can we stay with Christianity's theology and be walking in truth and Ruach? No, we cannot. We got to toss it. Okay, so we're going to get into Revelations 2 and 3 here real deep here now. But before we do that, let's go to John 17 and let's learn about the will of Yahuwah. So everybody, if you have your BYNV, let's go to John 17. All right. Yahusha said these words, and lifted up his eyes to the heaven, and said, Father, the hour has come. Esteem your Son, so that your Son also might esteem you. As you have given him authority over all flesh, that he should give everlasting life to all whom you have given him. This is everlasting life, that they should know you, the only true Elohim, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom you have sent. Okay, so this right here, a lot of people that really have not been, has not had truth revealed to them about who Yahusha is, stumble. They think there's a division. They think there's a divide. They think that Yahuwah is on one deity and Yahushua is another deity. So there's two deities. But oh, wait a minute, the Ruach HaKodesh must be a third deity, and that's why they believe in Trinitarianism, right? Okay, so divisions are illegal. So you can see this plot here. You should be able to understand the plot of the 7 assemblies. Yahusha and Yahuwah and the Ruach HaKodesh is one deity. It's the same Yahuwah acting out different roles and different manifestations in order to communicate with a relationship with humans, with humanity. The 7 assemblies, the same thing. It's not a division of the body. The body's still one. Okay, that's a one assembly there, not 7. He's only pointing out their divisiveness, the same as the Trinity people's divisiveness. It's the same thing, same problem. Hope we're all catching that. Okay, this is a very serious study. It's going to get so deep, it's going to shake some of you right at your core. And but I've avoided this, but I think it's time now to reveal some truth, deep truth. And the Ruach has nudged me forward on this. So we're going to do it. All right, so I have esteemed you on the arats, having accomplished the work you have given me that I should do. And now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. What? Okay. So before the world was, before the foundations of the earth was made, before anything else existed other than Yahuwah himself, he created a body for himself to dwell in. Why? Because he would need a body in order for his creation to see him. Not even the Malakim can see Yahuwah. They will die. He has to manifest himself to them in the form of a contained apparatus, like a body. And that's what he did, so that the Malakim could see him and not die, and so humanity and the other creatures could see him without dying. So the firstborn of all creation was who? Yahusha. He just admitted to it in this prayer. This is a prayer. He's praying to the Father in his natural, his humanity, in his human nature. For Yahusha had two natures, human and divine. He was both man, son of Adam, and the son of Elohim, or Yahuwah. Nobody else has ever had that. Only he has those characteristics, okay? And so now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. See that? So everybody say, oh, well, he had Yahusha had a date where he came around when he was born from Mary. He didn't exist before that. Well, he just said he did. And how so? Because he's the Word. He's the body of Yahuwah. He spoke through the mouth of his body, the Word. He spoke living words out to create everything when he created. That's what John 1 says. Everything was created by the Word. Did he come to the Word, or the firstborn of all creation, come to the earth and visit humanity before Mary's time? You better believe it. There was over 100 people that saw Yahuwah. Did they see him in his natural form? Light, spirit dwelling in unapproachable light? No, because they would have died if they did. So what did they see? How did they see him? They saw him in his body that he created beforehand, before the world was. The Word, Yahusha, the firstborn of all creation. He came he put him in the womb of Mary, and he was born through the wombs, through the the loins of Mary, incarnated for our sake, so we could understand that our deliverer had come. But he appeared in the flesh. Before that, he wrestled with Jacob. And Jacob limped for the rest of his life after wrestling with Yahuwah. And on and on and on. Who sat there and ate with Abraham food and drank water, nutrition that was made for a human? Yahuwah. So he had to be in a fleshly form, the firstborn of all creation, the Word, Yahusha, to sit there and eat and drink. A spirit can't do that. It's all Yahuwah, man. Yahuwah can do what Yahuwah wants. Yahuwah is everything. I have revealed your name to the men who you gave me out of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have guarded your word. Okay, so who's that talking about? Well, right now it's talking about the 12 apostles, if you will. Now they have come to know that all you gave to me is from you. So basically everything he was doing was Yahuwah was doing. It wasn't the flesh. It wasn't the Lamb of Yahuwah doing it. It wasn't the incarnation, his body incarnated doing it. It was Yahuwah doing it. Yahuwah is the source of the power. The source of the power, the potential is Yahuwah, man. Period. How do we know? Because the flesh died. The Lamb died. The firstborn of all creation died. Carnal, incarnated. But Yahuwah himself did not die. He's everlasting to everlasting. He can't die. Okay, so now they have come to know that all you gave to me is from you, because the words which you gave to me I have given to them. And they have received them and have truly known that I came forth from you, and they believe that you sent me. Sent me? Sent me means what? He had to pre-exist. He did, as the firstborn of all creation. Scripture tells us he's the firstborn of everything. He's the first of everything. He sent me. Okay. I pray for them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours, and all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. So this is speaking of the assembly of his body. The one assembly is the body of Yahusha. The assembly is the body of Yahusha. It's not divided into 7 or 14 or 24 or 100. There's no divisiveness in the body. There's many components in the body, but the body remains one. That's why these 7 assemblies got reprimanded by Yahusha. In Revelations 2 and 3, which we're going to find out once we get there. Okay, so the assembly of Yahuwah is the body of Yahusha. There's only one body, there's only one Ruach, there's only one Yahuwah, there's only one Torah. There's not 7, folks. They were dividing it and making it 7, but that was illegal. They weren't allowed to do that. And that's what Yahusha confronted them about. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, speaking of his apostles. But these are in the world, and I come to you, set apart, Father. Guard them in your name, which you have given me, so that they might be one as we are one. What does that mean? One body, one assembly. When they say you assemble your body, you put in your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your brain, your beard, your shoulders, your fingers. You assemble your body and putting it together, right? Well, that's what Yahusha's doing. He's assembling his body. The living with stacking the living stones together. The living stones not made by hands. He is assembling his one body, not his 7 bodies, not his 3,000 bodies, but his one body. I don't care how many divisions are in the world. Yahushua is concerned with his one assembly, his body. He ain't concerned with those 3,000 divisions. Okay, so one body, not 7 bodies, not 7 assemblies, not 7 churches. One body, one assembly with one head. The way. Follow the way of Yahusha, the true pattern of Yahusha. Not men's teaching in some assembly in Minor Asia. Following after their own ideas, their own ideology. Your name which you have given me so that they might be one as we are. This is the will of Yahuwah now we're hearing. This is what he wants. He doesn't want divisions. He wants unity. Unfortunately, he's not getting it, is he? No, because we all think we know so much. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name, which you have given me. And I watched over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, which was the traitor, the betrayer, Judas. We all have a Judas in our life. Keep your eyes peeled for your Judas. He's there somewhere. If you're walking in the true pattern of Yahusha, watch out for them. They're weasels. They're pretty slick. I was guarding them in your name, which you've given me, and I watched over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, and that the scripture might be concluded. So he's talking about the 12 apostles now, right? And now I come to you, and I speak these words in the world, so that they have my joy completed in them. I have given them your word, and the world hated them, because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one, which is Hashatan. They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. So see here, he's in this prayer now. He's praying for his apostles, those 12 Talmudim minus 1, right? This is his final prayer, Yahusha's final prayer before his trial began. That's what this actually is. So you can see he's praying for his Talmudim, his 12 apostles, if you will. I'm saying apostles so everybody keeps with me what we're talking about here. Because there's some people, that's listening doesn't know the Talmudim and these kind of words, so I have to use words to keep everybody with us so they can follow along better. So don't get all excited about, you hear him saying those pagan words? Sometimes I have to, and so do you. Otherwise, people don't get you, man. They ain't going to be picking up what you're laying down if you talk all fancy to them. You got to be careful. All right. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. So there we go. We're reading pure truth right now. And so they're set apart in truth. Truth is Yahusha's truth, man. He's the way, the truth, and the life, right? So he's the truth. Love is Yahuwah. We follow the way of Yahusha. We find love, which is Yahuwah. And then we have completed the Torah. We have entered into the everlasting covenant, is what we have done. All right. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them, I set myself apart so that they too might might be set apart in truth. See? So we want to be set apart in truth. We don't want to follow Christian mythology or ideology or theology or myths, whatever they're throwing at us. We want to be set apart by truth. That's why we have to understand scriptures. They tell us the 7 assemblies are the 7 churches of Asia Minor, started by Paul, and that now there's 3,000 of them across the world, right? 3,000 assemblies now, 3,000 churches, and only one of them is going to be raptured out of the 3,000. So they're jockeying to find out who the true church is, who the Church of Philadelphia is. And this is just a progression over the 2,000 years on what the churches are going to be doing, how they're going to be behaving themselves over these 2,000 years. That's all lies. This is speaking to nothing but the one body of Yahusha, the one assembly. We're going to find out as we keep moving through this. What I'm saying is pure truth. You're going to hear it yourself right out of the scripture. Sit out of my mouth. As for I set myself apart so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word. Okay, now he's going from praying for his 12 apostles, if you will, to all of those that accept their testimony, their witnessing, and which includes us, right? Yes. So now he's saying not only for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word, which just grew and grew and grew and grew like wildfire, right? Through the different decades and centuries. So now he's praying for future believers. Okay. And then it says, so that they all might be one body, one assembly, man, not 7. So that they all might be one as you, Father, are in me and I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. So Yahusha here now is without a shadow of a doubt expressing a one assembly, one body, not 7. See, you're starting to see what's going on. He knew that they were going to cause divisions, and he didn't want divisions. He wanted one body. As him and his Father are one, the same one. He wanted us to be the same with him. Not divided into 7 assembly. He doesn't want 7 bodies or 7 wives, if you will. He doesn't want 14 wives or 3,000 wives. Yahusha's just looking for one wife, one bride, one body, one assembly to go off into eternity with, the everlasting paradise with. He wants one, made up of many components, but only one body, in total agreement, in total unity, in total love. You starting to see it? I know you're starting to see it, but you ain't heard nothing yet. Just stick around. In the esteem which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one. So he's given us esteem so that we can be one as they are one? Absolutely. To his one bride. Because when you get married, the husband and the wife are one in Yahuwah's eyes. There's no 2 people standing there anymore. They're one. Their name, speaking of Adam and Kuah, their name is Adam. Because they're one. You can find that in Genesis if you look hard enough. The scriptures ain't really that complicated if you understand that it's all about Yahusha and his bride. him seeking out his bride and assembling his body, his one bride. He ain't assembling 7 brides. I mean, if you just can realize that all of Scripture is about Yahusha and his bride, you're starting to understand now. You're starting to get it. If you don't understand that right there, you're not getting it. I in them and you in me. So Yahusha in the believers in his body, and you in me, because he is Yahuwah, so that they might be perfected into one what? Body, assembly, church, if you will. So that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. There you go. He's telling you this one assembly. His body is one assembly. It's just the assembly. You'll see that verbiage as we continue. It's just the assembly, man. Just one. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am. Now pick up on that they might be with me where I am. Remember that. So that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. What? Because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Yeah, because he was the very first thing he created. He was the firstborn of all creation. He will create a body for himself. Okay, so maybe be with me where I am. So where is he? Well, he's in the Shemayim. He's the Ruach HaKodesh. Everything's in him, and he's in everything, right? So he's back into his spiritual form now, right? Is that where he wants us to be when he says, might be with me where I am? Is he talking about a place called heaven? I don't think so. And we read on, we'll find out more about that. Just keep that in mind. So that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. Speaking back about the apostles again now. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you loved me might be in them, and I in them. So there you go. Yahusha gave the permission to them to use the name and say the name again, the true name. Yahusha came, gave them back the permission to call on Yahuwah again. Why? Because he took it away from them back in the Tanakh, right? Back in the Torah, right? Remember, he took his name away from them, that they wouldn't be saying his name anymore, and he kind of hid it from them. Well, Yahusha, when he came back, revived that. He said, okay, here's the name. Start using it again, right? Because they had forgotten Yahuwah. They no longer knew who Yahuwah was. He took his name out of their mouth. But Yahusha restored it and brought it back and gave us permission to use it again. If you want to look into that, it's Jeremiah 24 and Hosea 2:17. You can get a look into that if you want. It should explain somewhat to you there about that, but I don't want to go off on that tangent because we still have a lot to cover here. All right, fantastic. All right, so we all see now what the will of Yahuwah is. He wants us to be one body and one head, one Ruach, one wife, one assembly. That's his will. That's what Yahusha prayed about here in John 17. Pretty clear. I think it's clear. Yeah. Wow. There's so many things I'd like to cover here to bring you into the knowledge of this. But here in, look over in John 14, verse 3. John 14, verse 3. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. All right. Everybody seeing that? So that's what we just read, basically. And this is where, Christianity teaches there's a heaven, and he's wanting us to come up to heaven with him. And he's up there making a palace and rooms for us to come up there and live in. Okay. So just keep all that in mind. And turn to John 8. John chapter 8. Um, 21. John chapter 8, verse 21 says, Therefore Yahusha said to them again, I am going away, and you shall seek me, and you shall die in your sin. Where I go, you are unable to come. Okay, so here he's talking about the Pharisees, and a lot of people say, well, he's just saying that they can't come to heaven because they're sinning. And that's why, but he's still up there. So everybody with me on that so far? And if you scoot down there to 24, it says, Therefore I said to you that you shall die in your sins, for if you do not believe that I am he, you shall die in your sins. Here Yahushua saying, if you do not believe that I am Yahuwah, you're going to die in your sins. Or if you do not believe that I am the deliverer, you're going to die in your sins. His name defines who he is. Yahusha, I am your deliverer, right? Or Yah, your deliverer. Okay. All right, so we got that going on there. So let's go to yeah. Well, I'm almost tempted to read John 14 to you. Read John 14, you get a chance. I better move on beyond that, I guess. Okay, so let's look over 13 real quick before we leave John. John 13, 31 to 37. When therefore he went out, Yahusha said, Now the son of Adam has been esteemed, and Elohim has been esteemed in him. Elohim is esteemed in him because he's in him. By the way, son of Adam is we get that expression from Enoch, in case y'all don't know that. Son of Adam. That comes out of Enoch, quoted from Enoch. If Elohim has been esteemed in him, Elohim shall also esteem him in himself, and straightway esteem him. See, it's pretty much telling you it's Yahuwah in him being esteemed. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You shall seek me, and as I said to the Yehudim, where I am going, you are unable to come. I now also say to you. So you can't go there. Okay, he's calling the little children now. So see, there's no rule there or anything. That's because they were sinners. That's why they can't go to heaven. Now he's saying, little children, you can't. As I said to them, neither can you. You can't come where I'm at. Now he's speaking to the little children, which is some of them are his elect and his apostles as well. Where I am going, you're unable to come. And now also I say to you. See that? So there's no connection there because they can't go there because they were sinners. Now he's talking to the little children, his elect. Everybody saying that? A renewed command I give to you, that you Love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this shall all know that you are my pupils, if you have love for one another. And Simon said to him, Master, where are you going? You shall answer him, where I am going, you are unable to follow me now, but after you shall follow me. And Kepha said to him, Master, why am I unable to follow you now? I shall lay down my life for you. And Yahusha said, shall you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the rooster shall not crow at all until you have denied me 3 times. So here he's telling Peter, even if you die, you can't go where I'm going. So nobody's ascended except for him who has descended, which is Yahusha. So this is what he's speaking to them about. All right. So just want to clear that up as we're going through all this. Okay. So let's see here now. All right, let's go to, at this particular point. Well, let me make one more point about unity before we go there. And that's on Psalms 133. So in Psalms 133, it says, see how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. See, right there it is. Dwell together in unity, not division. Okay, like the precious oil of the head running down on the beard of Aaron running down on the collar of his robes, like the dew of Kerman that comes down on the mountains of Zion. For there Yahuwah commanded the blessing, live or life forever. Life forever. Okay, in unity with him. Can we live outside of Yahuwah? No. So we have to be united with Yahushua as one body. He's the head, Ruach HaKodesh, all one in order to live. Do we not? Yes. If we divide away from him, can we live? No. Can we live apart from him? No. There's only one body and we have to be in it to live forever. Everybody seeing that? Okay. All right. Let's go to let's look at some of this other stuff real quick. We got to understand the divisions are illegal. Okay, because in Revelations 2 and 3, which people think that is actually describing 7 different types of assemblies, or 7 assemblies, right? Or 7 divisions, or churches, they say. We have to get that thought out of our mind, and we have to believe in the body of one, and one body, and one assembly, not 7 divisions within the body. Okay, we got to get away from that, because that's what's programmed into our minds. Okay, and so once we begin to understand this, and then we begin to understand that divisions are illegal, then we begin to understand the will of Yahuwah, which is unity, which we just read in Psalms 133, how pleasant unity is. Okay, so take a look at 1 Corinthians 1, or 1 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 13. It says, start at 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our Master Yahushua, Mashiach, that you all agree, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you might knit together in the same mind and in the same opinion. Okay. Do you think there was just one assembly in Corinth? Or could there have been several meeting houses? I think there may have been several. Okay. And it would still been included in the letter to the Corinthians, even if there were 50 meeting houses or congregations. Wouldn't they all been included in the letter to the Corinthians? Yeah, they would have. So anyway, there's no division among you. Divisions are illegal. But that you be knit together in the same mind and in the same opinion. See, in the way of Yahusha, man. They can't have their own opinion or their own thoughts, their own theology or ideology. It all has to be the same. For I have been informed concerning you, my brothers, by those of the house of Chloe, that there are strifes among you. Say, well, isn't that what was going on in those assemblies? Yeah, they were dividing and there was strife going on. What I mean is this, that each one of you says, I am of Paul, or I am of Apollos, or I am of Kepha, or I am of Mashiach. Has the Mashiach been divided? Okay, so here Paul's laying it out, man. This is what the 7 assemblies are all about. See, they're dividing the body of Mashiach. That's what they're doing. Okay, and so he's playing, it's pretty clear what he's saying here. You know, some say, I'm Paul, I'm Apollos, I'm a Kepha, I'm a Mashiach. So they're architects of division. They're creating divisions from the one body of Mashiach. And Paul's saying, are y'all done lost your mind? Has the body of Mashiach been divided? No, it hasn't. We're one body. We can't go off on our own accord. We have to stay within the boundaries, within the way of Yahusha, within the pattern of Yahusha, or we ain't going to be delivered. It's Paul's trying to tell him. Was Paul staked for you, or were you immersed in the name of Paul? I thank Yahuwah that I immersed not one of you except Crispus and Gaius, that no one should say that I immersed into my own name. Now I did also immerse the household of Stephanus. For the rest, I do not know whether I immersed anyone else. Now listen to this real clearly here. Hi, Toria. Glad you're here. For Mashiach did not send me to immerse. This is Paul talking. For Mashiach did not send me to immerse, but to bring the Basora, not with wisdom of words, that the stake of Mashiach should not be nullified. Let's read that again. Mashiach did not send me to immerse, but to bring the Basora, not with wisdom of words, that the stake of Mashiach should not be nullified. Not with wisdom of words. So with what? With the way of Yahusha. That's what. Strictly Yahusha. Because without Yahusha, we can do nothing. That's what Paul's talking about. He said, y'all done lost your minds. Y'all done went crazy. You can't be immersing in my name, in the name of Paul, or you can't be following men. You know, you can't be taught, trying to save somebody with wisdom of words, What's wrong with you people? Or is the stake of Mashiach should not be nullified? That means we don't need the Mashiach? Yahusha came for no reason? No, there's no division, man. There can be no division. Has the Mashiach been divided? Can't be any division. None. Zero. Just can't do it. So, let's look at 12. Wait a minute, let me see. Yeah, look at Jude real quick. Jude 1:14. Jude 1:14. Let's get this illegal stuff out of the way here. Okay, Jude 1:14. Jude 1:14. And Enoch, the seventh from Adam, also prophesied of these, saying, See, Yahuwah comes with his myriads of set apart ones to execute judgment on all, to punish all who are wicked among them concerning all their wicked works which they have acted in a wicked way, and concerning all the harsh words which wicked sinners have spoken against him. These are grumblers, complainers, who walk according to their own lust, and their mouth speaks proudly, admiring faces for the sake of gain. So they're being real nice and silver-tongued, treating you like go for order to get personal gain. Yeah, give me your money. It's all about you giving me your money. I will kiss your butt all day long if you give me your money. I will tickle your ears all day long if you give me your money. But you, beloved ones, remember the words spoken before by the emissaries of our Master, Yahushua Mashiach, because they told you that there would be mockers in the last time, who would walk according to their own wicked lusts. These are the ones who cause divisions, not having the Ruach. See that? So these are the ones causing divisions. These are the architects of division. They're not interested in the one body. They're not interested in the assembly of Yahusha or the body of Yahusha or in grafting or joining the everlasting covenant. They're not interested in any of that. They're interested in getting your money and for you to esteem them. That's what they want. But so there it is. These are the ones who cause divisions, not having the Ruach. Okay, there it is. Divisions are illegal. I hope we're all starting to see that. So look, these councils of the uninformed, if you will, who are in the world, these assemblies, 3,000 of them, we'll say. Many more, really. In the world, love the fleshly pleasures of this world, the lust of this world, okay? These people are not interested in teaching you about the way or witnessing to you about the way of Yahuwah, all right, or Yahusha, or the true pattern of Yahusha. These are the ones in the world here now who cause divisions and strife, especially and even among brothers. They are the architects of denominations, or divisions. They're being led or influenced by their father, the father of lies, who masquerades as a messenger of light. The devil. These are the ones who cause the divisions. They create the other assemblies. This is what Yahushua is trying to explain to us, that these 7 assemblies were divisions. They were illegal, although they were within close proximity. And one of them was right where the throne of Hashatan was. So see, I hope it's opening up a little bit more now. I hope it is. Okay, so the 7 assemblies became architects of division who became illegal by separating or dividing the one assembly of Yahusha, the one body of Yahusha. And that's why he reprimands them before he gives his projections. the Yehukanan on the island of Patmos, starting in chapter 4. No divisions allowed, boys. Yep, that's what that was all about. Now, look at Ephesians 4. Take a look at Ephesians 4, 1 through 16. Ephesians 4, 1 through 16. It says, I call upon you, therefore, I, the prisoner of the master, to walk worthily of the calling with which you were called, with all humility and meekness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, being eager to guard the unity of the Ruach in the bond of peace. See that? So the unity of the Ruach is the bond of peace. If there's divisions, there's going to be war and hatred and strife among the body, the one body, which is what happened with these 7 assemblies. See that? This is why they were confronted. That's why he didn't confront all 14. He just did those 7 as an example. Were they just sent letters to each one, reprimanding them what he said to each one? No. They were sent the entire book of Revelations. When Paul Yehukanan completed it, he sent all the assemblies a copy of the whole book so that they could see the division within the one body, so they could stop dividing and come back together and unite and be in unity with the one body, the one assembly, not 7, and quit dividing and being separate from each other. See, this was the example given to us. Being eager to guard the unity of the Ruach. You see that? The unity of the Ruach. Unity is huge, man. That's why I've been trying to get everybody to unite, all the Nazarene, because being separate is illegal. We all spin out into different directions, man. We all need to come back to home base, back to the foundation, which is Yahusha. Being eager to guard the unity of the Ruach and the bond of peace. Now listen to this. One body, not 7, not 14, not 3,000. One body and one Ruach. As you also were called in one expectation of your calling, not 7, one. One master, one belief, one immersion, one Yahuwah and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But to each one of us favor was given according to the measure of the gift of the Mashiach. That is why it says, when he went up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts to men. But what does he went up mean, except that he also first went down into the lower parts of the Eretz? This is when Yahuwah visited the spirits that were shackled, that left their principalities. The Lamb of Yahuwah died. The incarnation died. But Yahuwah did not. He's everlasting to everlasting. He's in everything, and he sustains everything. If he died, we all be gone. He who went down is also the one who went up far above the Shemayim to fill all. So see, Yahuwah is everything. Yahuwah is, Yahusha went back to being the greatness of Elohim, and he fills all. So all, he's in all, and all is in him. He's our great all in all. He gives us breath. He returns our breath. He sustains us. Without him, we're nothing. We can't live without him. He's the life giver, the great life giver, man. He's the great light. He's the light of men. And he himself gave some as emissaries, and some as prophets, and some as evangelists, and some as shepherds, and some as teachers, for the perfecting of the Kadesh, to the work of service, to a building up of the body, the one body, the body of Mashiach. So he gave jobs to the different components in the body in order to perfect and the uplifting of the other body members. There's only one body. He's not dividing the body. He's just giving different jobs to different people to make up the body. And still the only body of Mashiach, there's only one. Just told us up there. Right? One master, one Ruach, one body, one Yahuwah. All right. Then it goes on over here. It continues at 13. It says, for the building up of the body of Mashiach until we all come to the unity. See that? We all come to the unity of the belief and of the knowledge of the Son of Yahuwah, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Mashiach. Completeness of Mashiach, what do you mean? His body. Once he builds up his body with the living stones and it's completed, his temple is complete, it's going to be end game. He don't care about all those other assemblies. He's assembling his one body. One assembly, not 7. If you divide off of the one body and you become another assembly, you're going to get left behind. Let's just put it that way. The unity of the belief and of the knowledge of the Son of Yahuwah, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Mashiach, not the completeness of 3,000 churches, so that we should no longer be children tossed and borne about by every wind of teaching, okay, by the trickery of men, and cleverness, to the craftiness of leading astray. Now, we're with the way of Yahuwah, man. The true pattern of Yahusha, the Besor of Yahusha. That's all we're concerned with, because we're the one body. We're Yahusha's body. We're the one assembly. Okay? But maintaining the truth in love, we grow up in all respects into him who is the head, Mashiach. See that? The head of the one body. Mashiach doesn't have 3 heads. He's not a 3-headed monster, some kind of Trinity God made up in men's minds. He's one. He's the one head, and he's assembling his one body of the living stones. He's creating his temple to dwell in for eternity, man. It's going to be his one body, the one assembly. And he's the head. Mashiach. See that? So he doesn't have 7 bodies with each one has a head, or he doesn't have one body with 7 heads, 7 assemblies, or one head with 7 bodies, 7 arms and 7 legs, 7 ears and 7 eyes. No. One head, one body, one Ruach, from whom the entire body, joined, knit together by what every joint supplies, according to the working by which each part does its share, causes growth of the body for the building up of itself in love. Wow, that is powerful stuff. So I hope we're all starting to see now that there's something severely wrong with this ideology that these 7 assemblies are talking about 7 churches and 3,000 more churches in the future. No, beloved, it is not. It's speaking of your husband and his bride, which is you. And many components make up that one body or that one assembly. To divide and create more bodies or more assemblies is illegal. And this is why Yahusha confronted them with their divisiveness in Revelations chapter 2 and 3. All right. So I know some of you still may be disagreeing or scratching your head, but you just wait. Stick around. Stick around. That's all I can say. Let's see now. All right. Here's an idea for you. So there's always been one Israel. Okay. There's never been 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 Israels. Israel divided itself, did it not? Became 2 nations, right? But they were still both connected to Yahuwah. They just divided themselves, which was an illegal thing for them to do. The Israel still remained one. Okay, and so there was one solemn assembly always. Okay. And it denotes one unique Yahuwah. And we all celebrate the same appointed times, do we not? Doesn't matter where you are on the world. If you're in the one body, we celebrate the same appointed times. There's not a different appointed time for each assembly. You know, one assembly celebrates the one appointed time as it comes forth. Okay. And the one set apart body, if you will, is commanded to keep the keeping of the festivals, each festival together. Matter of fact, the men within the one body are commanded to migrate to Jerusalem on 3 of these appointed times, known as pilgrimage festivals, if you will. So we all keep the same festival, the one body. There's not 7 bodies or 7 assemblies coming to the one festival. It's the one body coming to worship the one Ruah with the one festival during the one set apart time. You know, if that makes sense. So if we look over into 2 Chronicles, let's say, real quick, 2 Chronicles, we'll get a little bit more of an idea what I'm saying here. 2 Chronicles 7, 13. And my people upon whom my name is called shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways. Then I shall hear from the Shemayim and forgive their sin and heal their land. Now, my eyes are open and my ears attentive to the prayer of this place. And now I have chosen and set this house apart for my name to be there forever. And my eyes and my heart shall always be there. One Israel, folks. One, not 7. So we must engraft, do we not? Yeah, you better believe it, into that one Israel. There ain't no special church out there set apart from Israel that's going to be delivered. Okay? It's ridiculous. So all these 3,000 circuses, okay, they're all divisions and denominations created by their architects, the councils of the uninformed, or some maybe even by the councils of Hashatan may have created them, and they're teaching doctrines of demons, Are all these part of the one body of Yahusha? No. They're illegal. They're out doing their own thing. They're not following the way of Yahuwah. All right, you know what? At this point, let's get into Revelations. Let's go ahead and get there. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this one assembly or one body versus 7 assemblies or 7 bodies, or all these 3,000 divisions stuff. We'll come back to that. But I think we've studied enough at this point that we can go to Revelations now and understand more about what we're reading about. Okay. So it starts out with Revelations 1, which is basically what he has seen. It's the past. It's something that it's already been revealed or happened. Okay. And if we jump up to verse 19, we'll see that what he's commanding Yehukanan to write. Okay. Don't forget, this isn't Yehukanan writing this book. This is Yahusha. But he's speaking and Yehukanan is dictating. He's secretariat. All right. He's the secretariat. He's dictating the words Yahusha has given him to write. Okay. And here it is. Listen to this on 19. Write therefore what you have seen. What you have seen is a past. It means the past. Okay, it's not present, it's not the future. It's the past. If you have seen it, sounds like write what you're seeing or write what you're going to see later on, what's coming. It's what you have seen, which means it's of the past. You see that? So chapter 1 is that. So write therefore what you have seen. So what he wrote, what he had seen is contained in chapter 1 of Revelations. All right. Then it says both what is now. Okay. So now write of what you've seen, but now write both what is now. So if it is what is now, right now, what does that mean? That means what's going on right now, today, and right now is going on in the present. All right? It's not the past, it's not the future. What's going on right now means today, and right now in the present time. Right? Yeah, absolutely right. So what is now and what shall take place after these? Take place after these? After these what? What you have seen, the past, both what is now, the present. And what shall take place after these, the past and the present, this now is speaking of prophecy. Okay, so he's telling him here, Yahusha's telling Yehukanan to write about the past, the present, and the future. So some people say Revelations chapter 1, verse 1 starts the prophetic prophecies of book of Revelations. It's nothing but prophecy. Well, then you're calling Yahusha a liar. Because right here he's telling him, write therefore what you have seen, that's the past, and what is now, that's the present, and what shall take place after these, that's prediction, future, prophecy. So he ain't telling him just write of what shall take place in the future. He's saying past, present, future. So there has to be something in here about the past and about the present and about the future. And there is. Okay, if you understand that the future, where it says, and what shall take place after these, begins at chapter 4, then we can isolate the past and the present writings. So let's skip over to Revelations 4 real quick. It says, After this, I looked and saw a door having been opened in the heaven. After this, after what? After he just wrote to the 7 assemblies that were in violation of division, being divisive, dividing the body, the one body of Yahusha. They were in big trouble because they were dividing the one body into 7. They were all doing their own thing, which Paul projected even and cried for, had tears over it for a long time. He cried over it. After this, I looked and I saw a door having been opened in the heaven. And the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speak with me saying, come up here. This is after he just wrote about the present. Come up here and I shall show you what has to take place after this. After what? After the 7 assemblies, man. After he wrote that, and it's all gone now. So that now this begins the future predictions and revelations about the end times. And about what it really is, starting in chapter 4 on to the end, is prophecy about the second coming of Yahusha. That's what it really is. It's all it's about. It's predictions of the second coming of Yahusha. That's what it's all about. It starts in chapter 4. So we all know, at least most of the Nazarene should know, that Yahusha was born and died and resurrected and then came back as the Ruach HaKodesh on the fourth day, in that fourth millennium. Right? And so his death and his resurrection all happened on the 4,000th year, right toward the end, the last year of the fourth day or the fourth millennium, if you will, or before, just prior to the fifth day kicking in at the end of the fourth day or the fourth millennium. Okay, so that's where the prophetic portion of Revelation begins. In chapter 4. It's after the present state of affairs, of the divisiveness of these 7 assemblies, made themselves 7 separate assemblies. They were no longer united, walking in unity with their brothers in the way of Yahuwah, teaching the Basora of Yahusha. They were off doing other things. They began to do other things. They divided themselves. They separated themselves. This was the beginning of denominations. It spread like wildfire. Instead of them listening to the warning of Yahusha, when he warned them in chapters 2 and 3 in the present day that Yehuchanan was writing this book, they went the other way. They didn't heed to the voice of Yahusha. They didn't accept his warning. They didn't obey him. They went off into their own way and continued to be more divisive. And those 7 assemblies became 3,000 denominations that we know of today. See what I'm saying? So are they doing the same mistakes that the beginning, the followers of division did, these 7 assemblies? Yeah, of course they're making the same mistake. What are they going to do? Invent more, a different world? They're still in the same world, under the same ruler, Satan. They're still sinning, but they're still illegal, and they're still away from the one body. It has nothing to do with prophetic fulfillment. It's just got to do with the sin and with this in the division of these followers of Hashatan. I mean, Hashatan's throne was right there among them, among those 7 assemblies. Don't forget, they were within a 50-mile radius. He's moved his throne to Rome. Hashatan. And he's still controlling the divisions from there. Just like he was controlling those 7 divisions that he created there in Asia Minor. But Yahusha confronted. And he even revealed that the throne of Hashatan was among them within that 50-mile radius. Between those 7 divisions. All right. So there we go. So if the future or the prophetic portion of Revelations doesn't begin to chapter 4, then where's the present? Now keep in mind that there were some good people in these assemblies that wasn't dividing. They were trying to do their best to do what they were supposed to do and be in the way of Yahuwah, following the way of Yahuwah, right? And, seeking truth out. So these few, I would say, within each of these assemblies weren't going for these divisions, okay? They were the ones that were still in the one body. So they would be making up the bride. They were still in unity with everybody else. They were in the way of Yahuwah, following the way of Yahuwah. So I mean, even though they were in the denominations that went astray. So there were some good people in there. But, I obviously probably knew there was something going on. If they weren't aware of it, Yahusha made them aware of it when he had this book sent to each one of those assemblies. Okay. It wasn't just the letter. They didn't just get their individual letter. They got the entire book sent to each one of them so they could see the faults of their division or their error of division, but they didn't learn. They still didn't get it. So anyway, if the future began in 4, and then we know that the present would have to be then chapter 2 and 3, which was in Paul's time. Yehukhanan's time. And then obviously then that only leaves chapter 1 for the past, what he's written about the past or what he had seen. Okay. So which would have been before the present division of the assemblies in Asia Minor. Don't forget, Paul started at least 14 that we know of by Scripture, including these 7 more, and some have it 24, and now it's grown to over 3,000, right? So it's a mess now. Okay, so past, present, and future. And so if we understand this, now we can understand that chapter 2 and 3, the assemblies, 7 assemblies are the division of the body of Yahusha. Okay. Yahusha is one body. So we could say this is being sent out to the assembly. Okay. This is being sent out to the assembly. All right. But since they have divided themselves with the under the influence of Hashatan, the devil, for sure, because his throne was among them, they have now been divided to where Yahusha is identifying them as 7 bodies, 7 denominations, 7 divisions. You've divided yourself in 7 ways. Bring it back together. We're one body in Mashiach, one head, one body. Get it together, people. Did they? No, they stayed separated. Okay, so that's what the spiritual insight is here on these 7 assemblies. They're not 7 churches. Okay, and then kept going on, and as an example, what's going to happen over divide the next 2,000 years up 7 portions, and that's what the representing each portions being represented by each one of these assemblies. Where are we getting that from? Men's minds. You ain't going to find that in Scripture anywhere. Show me in Scripture where it says that. It don't. That's made up religion. It's ideology created by a man's mind. We need to dump that, and we need to get into the Ruach's truth, into pure truth, and realize he's speaking of his body here in chapter 2 and 3. Okay? And so let's get back away from that. We'll come back to it. Let's get away from it for right now and go to Zechariah 14. Zechariah 14. Let's see if we can find something on there to talk about. All right, so Zechariah, wait a minute. Yeah. Let's see, where's Zechariah 14 at? Okay. Okay, so Zechariah 14 here, 9 says, and Yahuwah shall be sovereign over all the Eretz. In that Yom there shall be one Yahuwah, and his name one. So what does that mean? If there's one Yahuwah and his name one, and he should be the sovereign over all the Eretz, what does that mean? Well, there's going to be one assembly, one body, not 7. He's all about one. So from there, with what we've learned so far here, let's take a look at Zechariah 11. This is a very interesting chapter, and it's really quite powerful and mind-blowing. If you've never read it before, you're in for a treat. Zechariah 11. Open your doors, Lebanon, and let fire devour your cedars. How, Cyprus? For the cedar has fallen, because the mighty are ravaged. How, oaks of Bashan? For the dense forest has come down. Listen, the howling of shepherds, for their splendor is ravaged. Listen, the roaring of lions, for the pride of the garden is ravaged. Thus said Yahuwah my Elohim, feed the flock for slaughter, whose owners slaughter them and feel no guilt. And their sellers say, blessed be Yahuwah, for I have become rich. And their own shepherds do not spare them. For I shall no longer spare the inhabitants of the land, declares Yahuwah. But see, I am delivering up mankind, each one into his neighbor's hand and into the hand of his sovereign. And they shall crush the Eretz, but I do not deliver from their hand. So I shepherd the flock meant for slaughter, the truly poor of the flock. And I took for myself 2 staffs. The one I called pleasantness, and the other I called unity. And I shepherd the flock. Then I sent off the 3 shepherds in 1 moon, for my being despised them, and their being also loathed me. So I said, I am not shepherding you. Let the dying die and the straying stray, and let those who are left eat each other's flesh. Let them eat each other's flesh. And I took my staff. Now listen to this. And I took my staff, pleasantness, and cut it in 2, to break the covenant which I had made with all the peoples. So it was broken on that day, and the poor of the flock who were watching me knew that I was the word of Yahuwah. So what's that talking about? Okay, so the broken staff, they broke off into 2 nations, and this is talking about the Mashiach, right? In the first covenant. And that it was the word of Yahuwah. The word of Yahuwah is what? His covenant, right? The word of Yahuwah, Yahusha, the covenant, it's all the same thing. And I said to them, if it is good in your eyes, give me my wages. And if not, refrain. So they weighed out for my wages 30 pieces of silver. So we know now that this has got to be talking about Yahusha and the betrayer Judas, right? Who betrayed him with a kiss for 30 pieces of silver. What a weasel, right? But he was made to do that. That's why he was born. That's why Yahuwah made him. So he could do that. So he could be the weasel. And Yahuwah said to me, throw it to the potter. Remember, he went in, he threw the 30 pieces of silver down on the floor of the temple at the Pharisees. Remember that? Tossed it back at him. And Yahushua said to me, throw it to the potter, the splendid price at which I was valued by them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of Yahuwah for the potter. See, remember that when he did that? Then I cut into my other staff, unity. Unity, the one body, the way of Yahuwah, man. Unity. To break the brotherhood between Yehuda and Yesharal. So there you go. There's the division of the one body. It's kind of weird because Yahuwah did that, okay, to break the brotherhood between Yehuda and Yahusha when he broke the unity, okay, but in the end, he brings the unity back into one with a greater flock. So the one becomes even a greater flock because it includes the seed of Abraham was scattered among the nations. When he brings them back together, right? Ephraim. And so the reign of Yahuwah grows. Yahuwah increases through his wisdom. But are we allowed to do it? Break unity? Divide the one body? Absolutely not. Is the body of Yahusha Israel? Yes, it is. There's only one Yisrael. There's only one assembly map, one body. That's it. No division. Yahuwah can do whatever Yahuwah wants to. But we ain't allowed to. So by scattering here, by breaking the staff of unity and to break the brotherhood between Yehuda and Israel, he scattered his into not just 7 assemblies at this point, okay, but he's scattering them across the entire world, man, in order to create one increased body, increase his body, and increase Yahuwah. Is there going to be more assemblies other than 7 because of this? Yes. I think there's like 3,000 now, plus all the ones that aren't even close, like the atheists and the Satanists and all that, the Hindus, everything that's out there, they're divided as well, but they're not even part of the body of Yahusha to begin with. They're just vessels made for destruction. If there is anybody in there, any component within those type of groups that's going to make up the one body, Yahuwah knows who they are, and he'll call them out and bring them into the fold, into the one body. He's not going to put them in one of the 7 or one of the 3,000. He's going to bring them out and bring them into the true Israel, the one body of Yahusha. And Yahuwah said to me, take again the implements of a foolish shepherd. For look, I am raising up a shepherd in the land who does not visit those straying, nor seek the young, nor heal those that are broken, nor feed those that still stand, but he does eat the flesh of the fat and tear off their hooves. Woe to the worthless shepherd forsaking the flock. Let a sword be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall wither, and his right eye shall be dimmed. So what in the world is that talking about? The false teachers, false shepherds, man. They don't care about the flock to begin with, but they're leading them astray. Okay. So the false teachers are these architects of denominations, if you will, that had their start with the 7 assemblies of Asia Minor, okay, are going to be in big trouble here. The worthless shepherds forsaking the flock. What's the flock? They're forsaking the flock. The flock is the body of Yahusha, the assembly, the one assembly, the assembly of Yahusha. He being the shepherd or the head of the body, or the husband and body's the wife. He's forsaking that flock and leading some of the sheep astray rather than keeping them united into one. So Yahuwah did it with increasing himself in mind throughout the nations, because he promised Abraham that he would be the father of nations. See, and by doing so, by keeping that promise to Abraham, he's increasing himself. Yahuwah is increased by that, by his wisdom. When we do it and we decide to divide and we're not united anymore, and we become one of those separate assemblies, if you will, we're causing a lot of trouble come down in our life. We're not allowed to do that, and we're leaving the one body, the protection of the one body. We're on our own. And when you're on your own, now you're under the attack of the principalities of darkness, and you're allowing them to come and destroy you because you have no protection. You're not within the one flock being guarded by the true shepherd. The shepherd's job is to protect his sheep, protect them and keep them safe. If you're outside the flock and you're following another assembly, which is illegal, you're not being shepherded or protected by Yahusha, the true shepherd, the good shepherd. See, you're following some other shepherd here, as this explains. The foolish shepherd. You're following a foolish shepherd, is what it says. He does not visit those straying, nor seek the young, nor hear those that are broken, nor feed those that are still stand. But he does eat the flesh of the fat and tear off the bones of the hooves. That means he's eating the sheep. He's eating the sheep, man. He don't care about the sheep. He's a foolish shepherd, man. He's leading them astray, taking them away from the good shepherd and the protected flock of the good shepherd with him, leading them astray. And he's doesn't care about taking care of them, protect them or anything, but he eats them. This is what it's saying. He still eats them up. He eats their flesh and of the fat and tears off their hooves. So he'll ravish you and eat you and destroy you and take all your money if you follow him. That's why divisions are illegal. That's why those 7 assemblies were the beginning of all this. And this is why Yahusha confronted them with their divisiveness. He confronted the architects of denominations. When it began, it could have stopped, but they didn't listen to him. They continued to be foolish shepherds and leading the flock astray. And that's why we have 3,000 assemblies or more. Who knows? So everybody kind of seeing where I'm coming from on this, or what the Ruach's saying to you? All right. So it's pleasantness and unity. Very powerful stuff. All righty. So let's continue on then. If we take a look at Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, 21 and 23. Most people are familiar with this. But let's read them short verses anyway. It'll help us to further understand what we're speaking about here. And the sticks on which you write shall be in your hand before their eyes. And speak to them, thus said the Master Yahuwah, see, I am taking the children of Yisrael from among the nations. So we're scattered among the nations, Ephraim, right? Wherever they are gone, and shall gather them from all around, and I shall bring them into their land. So he's going to call his sheep home, back into his flock under his protection. And I shall make them one nation in the land, one assembly in the land, one nation, one assembly, one body. On the mountains of Yisrael, and one sovereign shall be sovereign over them, and let them no longer be two nations, and let them no longer be divided into two reigns. So see here now, he's going to reunite them, but he's going to increase because of what he did by scattering them. Now he's going to bring them back out of all the nations, his chosen, his sheep, back into one body, back into unity. They're no longer going to be two nations, but one nation, one body with one head. You see it? So this is how powerful he is. So he starts off with a remnant, right? That was dividing themselves and acting crazy, doing foolish things, following foolish shepherds. And he scatters them abroad throughout all the nations and divides them, breaks the stick, the unity, scatters them all over the place, regathers them back into one body, reunites them into one assembly again to increase himself so that Yahuwah is increased. Wow. Has nothing to do with churches. That's Christianity talking. Let them no longer be divided into two reigns. No more division, people. And they shall no longer defile themselves with their idols, nor with their disgusting things, nor with any of their transgressions. And I shall save them from all their dwelling places in which they have sinned. And I shall cleanse them, and they shall be my people, and I shall be their Elohim. Woohoo! Restoration time. Back united into one body with one head. No more 7 assemblies, no more 24 assemblies, no more 3,000 assemblies, no more division. All back in one, following the way of Yahuwah. Powerful stuff. All right. So I hope we're starting to see this now, what's going on, and why Yahusha isolated or identified these 7 assemblies that were centered around the throne of Hashatan and confronted them for their divisiveness. The beginning of the denominations, the splitting of the flock. And you could even say that these foolish shepherds are stealing his flock, leading them astray for their own personal gain. And they're eating them and tearing off their hoofs. Is that part of the body of Yahuwah? Those are the people that are leading those sheep astray? Are those 7 assemblies all a part of Yahusha? No. No way, man. They are set. They've taken themselves away from the one body, the one flock, the one assembly, and doing their own thing. You see it? That's why he confronted them. Out of all the 14 that Paul started, or even more, some say up to 24, and even not the ones that Paul started. You know, you got to remember the apostles started some too. They had one in Jerusalem. Peter was going out. They were all going out and spreading the Basor and starting assemblies. You know, it wasn't just Paul doing it, they were all doing it. They were doing it mostly around Israel. It wasn't just Paul. You know, it was James and Jude and Peter and, Philip. You know, they're all doing it. So there was way more than what Paul did. So why did he single off them 7? Because that's where the throne of Hashatan was, and that's where he began his plan of denominations, division, to divide the one body, because that was illegal. So Hashatan was all over it. That's why we got so many now. You guys seeing that yet now? Should be starting to see the big picture now. Man, Christianity's got all kinds of stuff to say about them 7 assemblies. They've written encyclopedias on them, man. It's all falsehood. You can't find any of that stuff they're saying in scriptures. That should tell you something right there. Stop teaching their lies. Stop passing on Christianity's lies. That's not what the 7 assemblies are. They're not the 7 churches that started Christianity. That's a lie. It has nothing to do with prophetic churches in the future going through each progressive step through 2,000 years. That's hogwash. It's about the body of Yahusha being divided by Ha-Shatan, whose throne was in the midst of those 7 assemblies. The beginning of the divisions. Yahuwah's going to bring it all back together into one. That right there should tell you something. That right there is huge. That should tell you something. If Yahuwah is going to reunite them, there's going to only be one nation, one reign, one Yahuwah, one body at the end. That should tell you something. All right. Look at Colossians 1. 8 through 29. Colossians 1. Colossians 1. We start in verse 8 here. Okay. That is also why we, from the day we heard, have not ceased praying for you, in asking that you be filled with the knowledge of his desire in all wisdom and ruach-like understanding, to walk worthily of the master, pleasing all, bearing fruit in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of Yahuwah, being empowered with all power according to the might of his esteem, for all endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has made us fit to share in the inheritance of the set apart ones in the light, who has delivered us from the authority of darkness and transferred us into the reign of the Son of his love, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, who is the likeness of the invisible Yahuwah, the firstborn of all creation. Why is he in the likeness of the invisible Yahuwah, the firstborn? Because he's his body. Isn't your body in the likeness of you? Yes, it is. The firstborn of all creation. Because through him were created all that are in the Shemayim and that are on the Eretz, visible and invisible, whether thrones or rulerships or principalities or authorities. All have been created through him and for him. Who's that? Yahusha. His body. It's Yahuwah. It's just his body. That's why it looks like him. It's because it is him. The firstborn of all creation, he created a body for himself first before he created anything else. And he is before all, and in him all hold together, because he's Yahuwah. He's before all. And he is the head of the body, the assembly. Bam! Okay, there it is, man. If you understand that little half verse right there, you understand Revelations 2 and 3. And he is the head of the body, the assembly. The assembly means one assembly. So he's saying that the body is the assembly here. You see that? So if you divide the body, you have 7 bodies or 7 assemblies. See? So the 7 assemblies is the body of Yahusha. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? And he is the head of the body, the assembly. Not 7. The one assembly is the one body. Satan divided them. He taught them denominations, divisions, divisiveness, which is illegal. There's only one Yahuwah, one body, one head, one Ruach, one Torah, one deliverance, one eternal covenant. Who is the beginning? The assembly who is the beginning, so it's Yahusha. Are you getting that? So if we're in the assembly, the one assembly, and he's the head, he's the body, the assembly, the head of the body, the assembly, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that he might become the one who is first in all. Are you understanding that we're Yahusha? We're making up his body. He's the head. We're his body. All the components that make up his body, the living stones that creates his temple, completes his temple, is his body. He's the head. We become one with him. We are walking, we're Yahusha now. That's going to be the reality in the everlasting life. We're just seeing it as looking into a mirror or at a distance. But it's pretty clear here. And he is the head of the body. The assembly is his body. The one assembly, not 7. See, that's the 7 assemblies is about the body of Yahusha, man. That's the spiritual insight that you need to catch tonight. Who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that he might become the one who is first in all. Because in him all the fullness was well pleased to dwell, and through him to completely restore to favor all to himself in one body, man. He's going to restore it back to one body. It's been fragmented. It's been blown to pieces by Ha-Shatan and the foolish shepherds, man, the uninformed teachers. Whether on Eretz or in the Shemayim, having made peace to the blood of the stake. All right. Go just a little farther on this. And you who once were estranged and enemies in the mind by wicked works, but now he has completely restored to favor. Wow. And you who once were estranged and enemies in the mind by wicked works. See that? So the battle is in the mind. The battle's in the mind. By now he has completely restored to favor in the body of his flesh through death, to present you Kadesh and blameless and unreprovable before him, if indeed you continue in the belief, founded and steadfast, and are not moved away from the expectation of the Besorah which you heard, which was proclaimed to every creature under the heaven, every creature. That includes animals too, and messengers. Every creature under the heaven, of which I, Paul, became a servant, who now rejoice in my sufferings for you and fill up in my flesh what is lacking in Mashiach's afflictions, for the sake of his body, which is the assembly. There you go again. One assembly, folks, not 7 assemblies. 7 assemblies is a division of the one body. Are we seeing it? For the sake of his body, which is the assembly. One assembly, not 7. The 7 assemblies are a division of the one body caused by Hashatan. That's why Yahusha confronted it. Out of all the other assemblies, that's where the beginning was. That was the beginning of denominations, the division of the body of Yahusha. And it just went nuts from there. For the sake of his body, which is the assembly. See it? There's only one assembly. The body is the assembly. For which I became a servant according to the administration of Yahuwah, which was given to me for you to fill the word of Yahuwah, which is Yahusha, the secret which has been hidden from ages and from generations, but now has been revealed to his Kadeshim, to whom Yahuwah desired to make known what are the riches of the esteem of this secret among the nations, which is Mashiach in you, the hope of praise. So what does the Mashiach in you do? It makes you a component of the one body, of the assembly. That's the whole secret to it all, man. There ain't no 7 assemblies that doing some kind of weird, progressive, futuristic stuff for all the churches through the next 2,000 years after Paul died. That's Christianity. Don't stop believing the foolish shepherds. You can't find that in scriptures, but you can find this. Yahuwah desired to make known what are the riches of the esteem of this secret among the nations, which is Mashiach in you, the hope of praise. That's what creates his body. That's what creates the living stones that makes up his temple. Of the assembly, the only legal assembly is the body of Yahusha, or the assembly. Tells you that right there, like the 3rd time we've read that now. Whom we announce, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, in order to present every man perfected in Mashiach Yahusha, for which I also labor, striving according to the working of him who works in me in power. Wow. All right. So, Mashiach in you, the big secret. That makes the assembly or the body. Him being the head, the one assembly. This is the explanation or definition of the full armor of light, if you will. The full armor of light, or the armor of Yahuwah, if you will, is what? Mashiach in you. The Ruach HaKodesh in you, and you and him. Him and you, you and him. That's the armor you put on Yahushua. What else is going to protect you from the wiles of the devil and principalities of darkness, and from the camp of the children of darkness, the evil boys? What's going to protect you from that? Some kind of Roman uniform? Are you kidding me? You better be putting on Yahusha inside and out. If you want to be protected, you better be in his fold, in his assembly, in his body. Don't be participating in any of the divisions or the denominations. That's being controlled by Hashatan. There's only one good shepherd. There's only one head. There's only one body. There's only one assembly. The assembly is the body. And there's only one armor to put on. It's not a Roman costume of sorts or uniform. It's Yahusha, man. Put on Yahusha. Hide in the name of Yahuwah. Go into the tower. Be protected by the name. Put on the name. That's the armor. Armor of light. Yahusha, man. He's the light of men. Put on Yahusha. Then you're putting on the armor of Yahuwah. He's the armor. He's all we got. He's everything to us. He's all that matters. It's all about Yahusha and his bride. It's not about 7 churches. It's not about a Roman uniform or costume. It's not about divisions, religions, rituals, fossilized customs, paganism, voodoo, Hindu, science, atheists. It's not about none of that stuff, man. It's about Yahusha. Period. The entire scriptures of truth leads us to truth. And we take truth, and that's the vehicle that leads us to love, which is Yahuwah. And we find Yahuwah in love. And we stay there, protected in his flock, his assembly is where we stay. And we dwell there until we endure there and stay obedient there until he returns and redeems us, comes for his property. We're his property. He purchased us with his own blood. He knew who his sheep were before the foundations of the world was laid. Yahusha, the word was his body he created for himself, was the firstborn of all creation. Was the first thing he ever created, was a body for himself. That's why it's in the likeness of him, because it's his body. Just like my body here is in the likeness of me. You see my body, what likeness are you seeing, Mark August? What did he create second? What did Yahuwah create second, man? He created a body for himself first, and he created everything else through that body that he created for himself, so that his creation could see him. He had to have a body to protect his creation from death, because you can't see Yahuwah in his natural form or you will die. So what did he create second after he created his body, which, by the way, he could manifest into anything he wanted to be. He could send his body down. He could make himself anything he wanted. He could even come in the flesh way before he was born out of Mary's womb. He appeared in the flesh, incarnated. He wasn't the lamb yet because he wasn't sacrificed yet. And he had to come through the womb of a woman, out of a human woman, before he became the Lamb of Yahuwah. So what was the second thing he created? The Malachim. He created the spiritual beings who could not see him unless he was in his body, the firstborn of all creation. That's the only way they could see him as well. They can't see him in his natural form either, or they'll burn up and die too. And so forth and so on. That's how he appeared to men. That's how he wrestled with Jacob. That's how he ate with Abraham. That's how he appeared to Moses in his body that he created first thing he ever created. And then he created everything else through his body, and the Malachim watched as he did so. They were shouting and singing, jumping for joy as they saw him create everything else in his 6 days of creation, and he rested on the 7th, which is Yom Shabbat, which is right now. Okay? So, oneness is what he's all about. And not with just himself, but with his bride as well. So I hope we can all see that. Let's look at time isn't it? We've got time. Let's look at I want to get back to Revelations 2 and 3, but let's look at go to 1 Corinthians 12 real quick. I just want to emphasize that. where it says here, and but let's see, it's in verse 11. Wait a minute, 22. But much rather those components of the body which are thought to be weaker are necessary. Wait a minute. Oh, man, I'm going to have to back way up on this one. Let's go to, we're going to have to back way up. Go to verse 12. Verse 11. We better start at 11. All right, here we go. 1 Corinthians 12, verse 11. But one and the same Ruach works all these, distributing to each one individually as he intends. For as the body is one, see, there it is. The body is one and has many components, means there's many living stones making up the temple, okay? But all the components of that one body, see, one body being many, are one body. So also is the Mashiach. so therefore, so is the Mashiach. So yeah, he's got one body. One, he's the head. We're the body. Look, all the different components of the election is the body put together. We all have different jobs and different functions. We're all different components of the one body. So how many bodies you see sitting here? One, but you see different components: the eyes, the nose, the ears, the mouth, the head, the fingers, the hands, the shoulders, the chest, all that, right? For as the body is one and has many components, but all the components of that one body being many are one body, so also is the Mashiach. See that? He's not divided. You cannot divide the Mashiach. Division is of Hashatan, the devil. That's one of his tricks. You know, that's one of the ways he tricks people with divisions, divide and conquer. That came from Satan. He's probably the first one to ever do that. I mean, he did. Even with Adam and Kua, he used that tactic, divide and conquer, and he's still using it. He created it, especially with the 7 assemblies, where his throne was. So anyway, for indeed by one Ruach, we were all immersed into one body. See, one body, not 7 assemblies, not 3,000 assemblies or churches. One body. Mashiach's one. Whether Yehudim or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all made to drink into one Ruach. Drink into one Ruach. Open your mouth wide and let that Ruach in. For indeed the body is not one component, but many. Okay, so not 7 divisions, okay? One assembly. An assembly, the assembly, not 7 assemblies. Divisions are illegal. Okay? If the foot says, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, does it therefore not belong to the body? And if the ear says, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, does it therefore not belong to the body? If all the body was an eye, where would be the hearing? If all hearing, where would be the smelling? But now Yahuwah has set the components, each one of them in the body, even as he pleased. Even as he pleased. He's assembling his body. One assembled body, folks, not 7 churches. And if they all had been one component, where would the body be? And now there are indeed many components, but one body. And an eye is unable to say to the hand, I have no need of you, or again the head to the feet, I have no need of you, but much rather those components of the body which are thought to be weaker are necessary. And to those of the body which we think to be least respected, these we present greater respect. And our unseemly parts have greater seamlessness, whereas our seemly parts have no need, but Yahuwah blended together the body, having given greater respect to that part which lacks it. And that there should be no division. that there should be no division in the body. Don't forget, the body is the assembly now. We read that 3 times. So we could be saying that there should be no division in the assembly. We could say that because the body is the assembly. We read that. But that the body should have the same concern one for another. So see, these 7 assemblies in Asia Minor were denominations. They were divided. Okay, they had removed themselves from the one body. So they were no longer the body or the assembly. Okay, they were off being a denomination, a division, which is illegal. Ain't no 2 bodies in Mashiach. There's only one. Mashiach's only one body. And if one component suffers, all the parts suffer with it. Or if one component is esteemed, all the components rejoice with it. And you are a body of Mashiach and components individually. And Yahuwah has appointed these in the assembly. And he goes on and gives the jobs. So here, one body, one assembly. A body is the assembly. But there's a lot of people make up that body, and we all represent a component of the one body of Mashiach. Mashiach is one. Not 2, not 3, not 7, not 24, not 3,000. One assembly. So we've seen the spiritual message here of what we're being taught. I think we are. I think most of us are. Let's see what else we got here before we get back to Revelations. So we get back to the where, if we can't go to where Yahusha is, because he said you can't go there, right? I remember that part. I'm going to go back to it. Well, where can we be where he is? So he's coming back for us. We're not going to him. He's coming back for us. Then that way we can be where he is also in everlasting life, because we're going to be with him, because we're going to be his body, his assembly. He's assembling his body with many components. He's picking and choosing his body parts, and we're it. Yeah, that's nothing that way. Let's take a look then here at let's see here. No, we did that. No, we did that. Okay. Back to Revelations now. Back to Revelations. And there's some things here that I want to point out in chapters 2 and 3 quickly as I can, and then just do a couple to wrap up with a couple other verses here before we end the evening. So let's go back to Revelations chapter 2. And talk about these chapters here a little bit. Okay, so the first one says, to the messenger of the assembly of the Ephesians write, he who is holding the 7 stars in his right hand, who is walking in the midst of the 7 gold lampstands, say this. Okay, so this is twisted as well. And basically, Yahusha speaks to those who he wants to understand what he's saying. So it's very difficult for a man to understand spiritual matters or even earthly matters in a lot of cases if it's not given to him first by the Ruach HaKodesh, by the dwelling spirit Mashiach in you. Okay, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time dissecting each word in this, but I just want to point out the message where we can see where he's pointing out the division and then trying to get them to come back into the one body here. And that this is the present. This creation of Satan, will say, these denominations, this division of the body, was happening right here and then, in that present time where Yehukanan was living in. That's why he's both what is now. This was what was going on right now in Yehukanan's time. The devil was implementing his plan of division among the body of Yahusha, among the assembly of Yahusha. And that's why he's confronting it. That's why Yahusha's confronting it here. Okay? So that's the point I want you guys to try to concentrate on. I'm not going to try to explain every little thing in these verses. I don't have time for that. So let's go on with it. I know your works and your labor and your endurance. Endurance is your obedience, right? Being obedient, right, to the word, right? And that you are not able to bear evil ones, and have tried those who say they are emissaries and are not, and have found them false. So he's speaking to his body. See that? And you have been bearing up and have endurance, and have labored for my name's sake, and have not become weary for my name's sake. So they knew his name. See, the body knew his name back here in this time of Yehukanan. Everybody knew his name. It's not like nobody knew his name except for the Church of Philadelphia. Is what the Christians say. Well, that's not true. Right here it says, you labored for my name's sake. They knew his name, and they weren't saying Jesus. They were calling him Yahusha. They knew his name. All right. So then goes on, and he says, but I hold this against you. Now he's going to speak about the division here. That you have left your first love. Here it is. You've left your first love. What was the first love of this assembly? Was it following the way of Yahuwah? Obeying Yahuwah? Guarding the Torah? Was it spreading the Basor of Yahusha? Celebrating the deliverance? The deliverer had come and made a way for them to be delivered from the lake of fire and to live forever. So remember from where you have fallen. So here it makes it sound and repent and do the first works, which I believe now, right now, that's talking about the 10 Debar, being obedient to the word. I think is what he's saying here. So they've ventured off of obedience, is what it sounds like to me. Or else I shall come to you speedily and remove your lampstand from its place, which is the menorah, unless you repent. Yet this you have not, that you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. Those are the ones that are lording over the flock, the foolish shepherds, if you will, teaching them falsehood in different religions, men's teachings, taking their money. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies. To him who overcomes, I shall give to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Yahuwah, which is the Garden of Eden. Okay, in the midst of the paradise of Yahuwah, the tree of life is in Eden, the Garden of Eden. He never destroyed the Garden of Eden. It's still there, and the tree of life is still there. Is that speaking about Yahuwah and being inside the body of Yahusha? Could be, spiritually. But notice here it says, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies. He's speaking of the division now. See, before it was all about assembly. The body, the assembly, is the body. The body, which is the assembly, right? We read that 3 times. Now it's assemblies. So he's acknowledging division, denominations here. You see that? To him who overcomes, I shall give to him to eat from the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Yahuwah, which is the Garden of Eden. It's still there. That's very interesting. So we can see he's speaking of what they're doing wrong. They're doing these things that are outside of the way of Yahuwah. And so by doing this, they've created a different religious or way of following after someone else doing other things that they weren't told to do. And so now they've become a division off of the body, off the assembly of Yahusha. See it? Spiritually. In Smyrna, right, this says the first of the last became the dead, who became dead and came to life. I know your works and pressure and poverty, yet you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Yehudim and are not, but are an assembly of Shaitan. See that? And so this is telling us that these divisions, these assemblies, are a product out of the mind of Hashatan. He created the divisions. He made this happen. Who say they are Yehudim, but they are not, because they are away from the body. They're not in the assembly, man. They're in a division somewhere, a religion, a denomination, listening to other people's teachings. But are an assembly of Hashatan, and because this is what Hashatan created, these divisions, these assemblies, apart from the body of Yahusha. You see it? Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. See, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison in order to try you, and you shall have pressure 10 days, but trustworthy until death, and I shall give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies, or the divisions, if you will. He who overcomes shall be by no means be harmed by the second death. So, see, even though these people, there's good people that's still in the one body within these denominations, which is he's going to deliver from the lake of fire. You're not going to be harmed by the second death, because they're remaining in the one assembly, even though they're among all this division and among these assemblies of Hashatan. He created these divisions, 7 individual divisions rather than one body. So who's the architect of denominations originally? Hashatan. And his followers who follow him continue in his practice of being architects of denominations, even today, thousands of them. So the messenger of the assembly of Pergamum, he who has the sharp two-edged sword, says this: it's the same Ruach, the same Messiah, the same one body, the same head, the same body. Everything's one, and he's identifying that, but he's confronting the division that was created by Hashatan. The different assemblies are illegal, is what he's trying to point out here. Don't do that. Don't go off by yourself and follow Hashatan's divisions. Don't let Hashatan divide you. Stay true to me. Stay in the one body, and I'll deliver you from the lake of fire and the second death. See, this is all a big warning, man, of where all the divisions began. So it says, I know your works and where you dwell, where the throne of Satan is, and you hold fast to my name and did not deny the belief in me, even in the days in which Antipas was my trustworthy witness, who was killed near you, where Satan dwells. You see that? So here within the midst of this 50-mile radius of these divisions that Satan went in there, set up his throne, created these divisions, led the foolish shepherds to follow after him, to lead the sheep from the body, from the assembly astray. Okay. And here, some of them hold fast to my name. See, so this assembly even knew his name. They all knew his name. See, so they're holding fast to his name and did not deny the belief in me. Okay. Even in the days in which this guy was his witness was killed where Shaitan dwells. And then up here it says, he who has the sharp-edged sword says, the sword of truth, this I know your works, and where you dwell, where the throne of Satan is. So see, Shaitan had his throne set up among these divisions, and he created them. This is the first of we see of denominations starting to happen right here, man. And it's happening in the day of Yehukanan when he was stranded or exiled on the island of Patmos. You see that? Where Hashatan dwells. So this guy was killed there. A trustworthy witness was killed there where Hashatan dwells. Which I think that guy was killed around 92 AD, I think. I can't remember. Something like that, 92 AD or something. So it's been after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. So anyway, but I hold a few things against you because you have there those who adhere to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balaam to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat food offered to idols, and to commit whoring. So here they were tempted by pagan women to worship false deities through sex acts, temple prostitutes and so forth and so on. But here we see that the division created by Hashatan, orchestrated or designed by Hashatan to divide the body that was in Asia Minor, where he set up his throne, okay, was led back into paganism because of their division. Why? Because they were no longer being protected by the shepherd, the good shepherd. They had left the flock. They've left the assembly, the one body, and ventured off into some no man's land, being led by a foolish shepherd, Hashatan, and his followers led them astray. And even here is an example. They even began to go back and practice paganism, witchcraft, sorcery, mythology, stuff like that. And these were supposed to be in the body, following the way of Yahuwah, but they were not. But some were not doing them things. Some were doing, still doing what they were supposed to do. And so they remained in the one body or the assembly. They weren't participating in the division like most of the other ones were. That's why you're seeing him say, this is bad. I have this against you. I know what you're doing. I got this against you, but some of you are doing this, which is really good. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't follow them. Don't become part of that division. Keep doing what you're doing. Remain in the body, and I'll save you from the second death. See, that's why we're seeing that. This is amazing, really, if you think about it. It's just totally mind-blowing, really. Okay, so you also have those who adhere to the teaching of the Nicolaitans, religious people, which I hate. He hates religion. Yahuwah has no religion. No religion required to worship Yahuwah, folks. All religions are wrong. All religions are bad. Stay away from divisions. Religions, all they really are divisions. They're divisions. They're separated from the one body of Mashiach, the one assembly, the true assembly. Okay? So stay away from that religious teachings of the Nicolaitans. Repent, or else I shall come to you speedily and fight against them with the sword of my mouth. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies, all the divisions, the denominations. To him who overcomes I shall give some of the hidden manna to eat, and I shall give him a white stone, on the stone renewed name, which is no one knows except him who receives it. And to the messenger of the assembly of Thyatira, this says, the son of Yahuwah, who has eyes of the flame of fire and his feet like burnished brass. I know your works and love and service and belief and your endurance, and for your works, the last are more than the first. I hold against you that you allow that Asha Isabel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and lead my servants astray, to commit whoring and to eat food offered to idols. Is this the Isabel that was the arch enemy of Elijah? Or is this a different Isabel that's among these 7 assemblies up here, as a member of one of the divisions that's teaching them the ways of committing whoring and to eat food off the idols back into paganism? I think it's a different Isabel in one of these divisions, and she's leading them astray, this flock astray, in this new developed denomination that came out of the one body. Wow, huh? So anyway, I'm going to skip on back over here to chapter 3 now. I think you're all starting to get picking up what I'm laying down here. I'm assuming you are. But just jump over to chapter 3. I hope you're starting to see that this chapter 2 and 3 is a warning from Yahusha not to divide the body of Yahusha, or not to divide the assembly, but to unite it. He wants it united into one, not divided into 7 or 24 or 3,000. You see, and he's confronting this, the divisions, the denominations that's developing here through the architect of divisions or denominations, which is Hashatan. It's happening around his throne. It's in his backyard, right? 50-mile radius. So anyway, over here it says, he who, the 7 ruachs of Yahuwah and the 7 stars says this. This is a perfection and completeness in the one body in the Ruach HaKodesh is what this is really meaning. But I'm not going to get into all of that. But I know your works, that you have a name, that you are alive, but you are dead. Wake up and strengthen what remains and is about to die. For I have not found your works complete before Yahuwah. Remember then how you have received and heard, and watch and repent. If then you do not wake up, I shall come upon you as a thief, and you shall not know at all what hour I come upon you. Nevertheless, you have a few names in Sardis who have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, because they are worthy. And he who overcomes shall be dressed in white robes, and I shall be by no means blot out his name from the book of life, but I shall confess his name before my Father and before his messengers. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies, the divisions. Okay. So you see how he's confronting all the denominations, the divisions that was created by Satan, and trying to tell them to get back into the one body. You're not allowed to divide yourselves. I mean, they're after their division, they're no longer protected by the good shepherd. They've left the one flock, the one body, the assembly, and they ventured off by themselves, and now all kinds of crazy stuff's happening to them because they're not protected by Yahuwah anymore. Notice here what it says, and they shall walk with me in white because they are worthy. And he that overcomes shall be dressed in white robes. Yeah, let's look at 6:11 on that. Revelation 6:11. It says, and there was given to each one a white robe, and they were told that they should rest a little while longer, until both their fellow servants and their brothers who would be killed as they were was completed. What's this talking about? This is talking about the bride. You know, this is talking about those who are delivered through the tribulation years, right? Okay, so the election, maybe not the bride, but they're going to be with the bride for sure. I'll say that much. So if we go back over and see that they shall be dressed in white robes, so there you go. So this cannot be speaking about this specific church, okay, or some church in some kind of portion that's been divided mathematically over a 2,000-year period or 1,900-year period. Okay, and so if we look at we can also go over here and look at 7:9. So chapter 7:9, and it says, "After this I looked and saw a great throng which no one was able to count, of all the nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, stand before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes, and palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice." So there you go. So this right here is telling you a throng that nobody can count in white robes. Okay. So these people here, this isn't specifically talking about a church or future church. What this is saying is, if you get out of the division, if you stop being involved in this denomination of Satan has created here, and you stay in the one body, then I'm going to dress you in a white robes. Be dressed in white robes. Well, over here, they're dressed in white robes. So some people didn't go along with the denomination. They stayed in the one body of Yahushua in the assembly. And then they were given their white robes over here in 7:9. You see that? So it can't be talking about a church and a future church that represents that particular church, like Christians say. It's in the denomination. It's the ones that left that denomination and didn't participate in the division and reunited with the one body under unity and love, and they were dressed in white robes here at the end. Throng, a great throng which no one was able to count. So I ain't talking about that little assembly. That little assembly lucky to have 100 people in it that we're talking about right there. There wasn't a whole lot of people in that little assembly. So this wasn't a futuristic prophecy of what was going to happen among the Christians through the next 2,000 years. This is all talking about the assembly, the body of Yahushua. You see it? It's the divisions. He's confronting their divisions, the denominations caused by Hashatan. And you can see that again. We can go over to 19. Go to Revelations 19. Revelations 19, starting in verse 6. It says, "And I heard as the voice of a great throng, as the sound of many mayim, and the sound of mighty thunder, saying, Hallelujah, for Yahuwah Al Shaddai reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his Asha prepared herself." Who's the Asha? Israel, the body, the assembly, one, not seven, not 3,000. Okay, prepared herself, not theirselves. And to her, see, not to them, but to her, as in one, it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the Kadeshim. See, the righteousness of them. If they're working in a division, or participating in the division of Hashatan, then they're not going to be righteous because they forgot their first love even. See, so it's describing what the divisions are doing, and those that aren't participating, if they continue steadfast in the one body, in the way of Yahuwah, then they can get a white robe. See? So, hallelujah, for Yahuwah Al Shaddai reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his Asha prepared herself. And to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the Kadeshim. And he said to me, right, blessed are those who have been called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said to them, these are the true words of Yahuwah. And I fell at his feet to worship him, but he said to me, see, do not do it. I am a fellow servant and of your brothers who possess the witness of Yahusha. Worship Yahuwah, for the witness of Yahusha is the Ruach of prophecy. And I saw the heaven open up, and there was a white horse, and he who sat on him was called trustworthy and true, and in uprightness he judges and fights. Okay, and on and on. So the point here is, this ain't speaking about the beginning of Christianity, and these are the first 7 churches of existence, and they all represent a portion or a period of time through the next 1920 years or whatever, that the spiritual Israel is going to go through Christianity's teachings. It's all denominations created by Hashatan. They're dividing the one body. Yahuwah's pointing it out. Tell them to knock it off. You're going the wrong way. You're going astray. You're following foolish shepherds. Stop doing it. Come back into the one body, and I'll save you from the second death. Okay? So then it goes down into the Philadelphia, who a lot of people say, well, that reminds me of that's the Nazarene. So that must be talking about the Nazarene in our era. Well, it can be, but it could also be talking about the body of Yahusha and what the body of Yahusha should be doing. That's not participating in any divisions. So perhaps this assembly in Philadelphia was the one that before the rest of them divided, before the divisions took place. And so they're still there, and perhaps some of these other ones may have left those divisions and came back in and came down and joined the Philadelphia assembly because they were remaining in the assembly or the one body of Yahusha. Okay, and it remained there unmolested by Hashatan, maybe protected by the good shepherd. And this could be representing, and the rest of them divided off of this body. So this is what this body was actually the true body, the assembly that was acting accordingly with all the other assemblies spread out in Europe and Israel and around other parts that weren't being divided and being denominations, yet they were all remaining in the true pattern of Yahusha and walking in the way of Yahuwah and being obedient and stuff. See what I'm saying? So I think this baby is what this represents. And if a true Nazarene is in Yahusha. In you. You have the indwelling spirit of Yahusha, the Ruach HaKodesh in you. You've entered into the everlasting covenant. Well, at that point, guess what? You're in the one body. You're the living stones making up the temple of Yahusha, and he's picking his components in his stones, and putting them in just the right shapes and places where they go, building up his temple. And when he's completed his temple, it's all she wrote. He's assembled his body. That's what the assembly is. Well, assembly of one body, man, one temple, the dwelling place of Yahusha. He's the head. You see it? Seen it unfold now? So it says here, he who is set apart, he who is true, he who has the key of Daoud, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens, says this. So that's interesting. He started off like that, basically letting you know, I'm the head of the body. I know your works. See, I have set you before you an open door, and no one is able to shut it, that you have little power. He's opened up the door to your cell. He set you free, that you have little power. Yet you are guarded by my word and have not denied my name. Okay, they have not denied his name, but neither did these other ones, because it said they didn't. They knew his name. They kept his name, And so it's nothing like they were the only ones using the name of Yahushua out of the 7. That's not true. We read several of them that knew the name. We just read them. So that's false. We can't go teach that. That's not true. They all knew his name. None of them denied his name. See, I am giving up those of the assembly of Ha-Shatan. See, the assembly of Ha-Shatan. So he does have an assembly. What is it? It's the divisions. I'm giving up those of the assembly of Ha-Shatan who say they are Yehudim and are not. Oh, we're hearing that again. But lie. They're not part of the body. They're off into the divisions of Ha-Shatan. They're practicing the teachings of the devils and of men. See, I am making them come and worship before your feet and to know that I have loved you. Loved who? His bride, his wife, his body, his assembly, Yisrael. Because you have guarded my word of endurance, you stayed obedient. I also shall guard you from the hour of trial, which shall come upon all the world to try those who dwell on the earths. Shall come speedily. Hold what you have, no one shall take your crown. So there's a few in each one of these divisions here. They all knew his name, and there's a few of them in each one of these divisions that make up the bride, the one body. They're united. They're in unity with the rest of the body, and I think some of them, because of the close proximity of these within the 50-mile radius, some of them left these other ones and just went to Philadelphia, or perhaps they just assembled in their own home or somebody's home when really small groups, 3 or 4 or 5 people, or several families together in a house somewhere or something, and they stopped going to these denominations or these other assemblies that were created by Ha-Shatan. You see, it says it. It's assembly of Ha-Shatan. You see it? It's nothing to do with 7 churches and the futuristic churches, man. This is happening in the present day that Yehuchanan was on the Patmos when Yahusha visited him there. He who overcomes, I shall make him a supporting post in the Mishkan of my Yahuwah. That's the New Jerusalem, coming down from the Shemayim, from Yahuwah. That's what that is. And he shall by no means go out, and I shall write on him the name of my Yahuwah. This is the bride now. In the name of the city of my Yahuwah, the renewed Jerusalem, which comes down out of the heaven from my Yahuwah. There it is. In my renewed name, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies or the divisions, and to the messenger of the assembly of this one, the Amen and the Boyan, and I know your works. Same old thing here. I advise you to buy from me gold refined in the fire so that you become rich, and white garments so that you become dressed. There's some white garments again. And so that the shame of your nakedness might not be shown. The shame of your nakedness, that means you're still in the flesh. You're a sinner. You're still in the mind of the flesh. If you have on your white garment, you have no longer in the flesh. Now you're in the mind of the Ruach. So you've been given immortality. You're going to be given immortality. Let's put it that way. So white garments is representative of your mortal body. Your nakedness is representative of your fleshly body, or the mind of the flesh. Might not be shown. And anoint your eyes with ointment so that you can see. And it means I'd be praying for the Yahusha to open up my mind to understand the scriptures. And many as I love, I flog and discipline. So be ardent and repent. stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I shall come to them and dine with them, and he with me. To him who overcomes, I shall give to sit with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sit down with my Father on his throne. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the assemblies or the divisions. So there you go. And then starting, and that ends the present. There's nothing else about the present time now. Now, chapter 4 begins the prophetic portion of Revelations. And from 4 on, it's all about the second coming of Yahusha, or manifestation, or the revealing of the second coming of Yahusha. Okay? All right, so let's wrap this up now and go to, let's see, we'll wrap it up. I'm hoping everybody understands what I'm saying here spiritually with this assemblies now, okay? And you can read all you want about Christianity's standpoint or their doctrine or their ideology or theology on what these 7 assemblies all represent. They'll lay it out real nice and pretty for you. Make it look like they know what they're talking about. But where you show me in Scripture where that doctrine is written that they're talking about, you're not going to find it. So that tells you right there they're making it up. It's just something they made up in their mind because they don't understand what's going on with the one assembly, the one body, the assembly. You see what I'm saying? They think, oh yeah, the 3,000 churches, are on, they're on board. They're right, but only one of us are the true church that's going to be raptured. The rest of you are going to stay here with the heathen and the pagans and suffer during the tribulation years, the wrath of Yahuwah. Well, the tribulation years are not the wrath of Yahuwah. They're the wrath of Hashatan. Yahuwah's wrath begins with the vials, and the bowls, 7 bowls, is the wrath of Yahuwah. And the first one's poured out on those who have taken the mark of the beast, and they get sores all over their bodies. Those who bow to his image get sores all over their body. That begins the wrath of Yahuwah. The mark of the beast was given prior to the first bowl or vial being poured out, which lets you know that it's after the tribulation years. The wrath of Yahuwah comes later. The tribulation years are the wrath of Hashatan. Okay, so let's wrap it up here in John. Back to John now. John 13 or 12. John 12, verse 35. Yahusha therefore said to them, yet a little while, the light is with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you, and he who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you become sons of light. These words Yahusha spoke and went off and was hidden from them. Hallelujah. Amen. So there you go. That wraps up our study on the 7 assemblies in Revelations 2 and 3. You get time, study that yourself, and try to see if you can figure out that the past is chapter 1, the present is chapters 2 and 3, and it begins the denominations or the divisions designed, created by Hashatan to destroy the one body of Yahusha. And then in chapter 4 begins the futuristic or prophetic portion of the book of Revelations. And don't forget, the entire book was written and completed and then given to all 7 divisions up there in Asia Minor. How they got there, I don't know. but obviously somebody had to come to the island of Patmos and get them from the 7 copies from Yehukanan and then deliver them up to the 7 divisions or denominations in Asia Minor. But they received the entire book, not just the little letter that mentioned their assembly, is the whole point I'm trying to make. All righty. Very powerful, very revealing, very spiritual, and I hope y'all got what I was laying down. All righty, I got to get off of here. Thanks for coming, everybody in the chat room. Love all of you. Appreciate you being here and studying scriptures with me every week. Look forward to it, and it's always a great joy, and I feel a lot of peace being with you people. The beloved of Yahuwah. Where else would I want to be except with the beloved of Yahuwah? What an honor it is to be with you folks this evening. I'll see most of you tomorrow. We'll continue with our study in Romans, the book of Romans, or the epistle to the Romans written by Paul. And other than that, remember to stay in love with Yahushua HaMashiach. So long, beloved of Yahuwah. So long, assembly of Yahuwah. So long, everybody.